Greetings and welcome to the 1/6 Scale Band proudly presents, you know what it is, Comic Book Talk with Friends, Monday evening. Thank you for being here. I know y'all actually out there watching that Georgia game because you're expecting to see a trailer soon. It hasn't come on yet, so bring your ass on back in here and make sure you're tuning in to tonight's show. How you doing? Thank you for being here. It's going to be a pretty good show, interesting show tonight. A lot of, a few things to talk about, our expectations going forward with Marvel and DC, not the MCU or the DCU. We're talking about comics. So what we can expect and what we would want to see going forward in 2023. That we got a showcased. Definitely we're going to talk about one of the picks that I actually have for the week. And that is Avengers versus X-Men, that run. And the reason why I wanted to talk about that tonight, because specifically what we could see in the future for the MCU and actually how they're ramping up. We just coming off of the X-Men versus Avengers versus the Eternals, which the repercussions from that could be effectively translated into the MCU. But I wanted to kind of go back to the original run, Avengers versus X-Men, and just kind of talk about that. But we're going to actually feature tonight, definitely our feature artist of the week, or today, that is Arthur Adams, one of my favorite artists of all time. This guy, pretty much early 80s when I was deep into my X-Men run, this guy was part of it and part of the reasons why it just felt so good to be an X-Men fan. So definitely want to tackle that. But before we do, I got to bring the panel in so y'all can actually meet him, talk to him, get to know my bros. You already know him, but, we're going to bring him back in because it's a brand new year and we're going to have this conversation. Let's go. So again, bros, thank y'all for being here tonight. Thank you for being here with me as always every Monday night. How y'all doing? Butt Naked actually has on some clothes from the waist up, so that's always good.
Mm-hmm.
Vinny is channeling his inner Danny Rand. So
yeah, I didn't know that our name bars would be changed, so I didn't inadvertently code with them. Always got to coordinate,
You got to coordinate. That's what it's all
coordinate.
About. You got to coordinate. So definitely thank you for that.
Bang, bang, bang.
And we got Jedi Pimp, flashing some of his favorite runs from Jim Lee. Even though he forgot that we talked about Jim Lee about Jim Lee like a couple weeks ago, or about a month ago. But anyway, regardless, you're muted. You're muted as well.
Oh, my bad. I forgot about that. Yeah, because Jim Lee's my boy. I forgot. We talked about him like 7 months ago. I was like, oh god, I forgot we talked about him already.
A while ago, we talked about him a while ago. You know what I mean? It's no problem. It's always good. It's good to basically go back and recollect. So it's nothing.
Big Jim Lee fan.
So, yeah, good. Mm-hmm. It's all good, man. No problem with that. Butt Naked, how was your weekend so far, man?
It's been good, man. I managed to do a lot of reading, so that was good. I also grabbed earlier today. This guy came in the mail, so it was nice to grab this, even though I love it, but it is a royal pain to assemble everything. But I got that, and then the piece that I was really excited for is I got this in over the weekend.
Nice.
And so this is a collage piece by Kyle Willis. He's a really good artist out of Florida. And I have a compendium of his collage work, but this Wolverine framed, bought it from him in one of his Whatnot shows for $35. This thing I fucking love. And if you're familiar with any of his stuff, it's like his drawings and then collage. So as you get closer, I don't know if it'll focus, but you can see their actual comic book pages and panels and stuff that he uses for the collages to create all these images. So
yes.
So this piece is gorgeous, and I'll definitely be getting some more of his stuff because he's really, really talented, and he doesn't charge a lot for his stuff, and he's got some other sick Spider-Man and Venom pieces and stuff that I really want to pick up. So yeah, more of that, and just did a lot of reading, as were you supposed to do a lot of reading yourself. So expect updates on everything that you got through, so I know where you're at. Yeah, man, excited for tonight.
Yeah, definitely, bro. Thank you for being here. Jedi Kid, bro, what's going on with you, brother? How was your weekend, man?
You're still muted.
You're muted.
Can you hear me?
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, we hear you, bro.
All right, my bad. Yeah, long weekend. I got to relax a little bit, watch some football. Saw my Eagles win. I didn't get to read my new batch, but I went back to read some of my Jim Lee stuff for tonight. I forgot, like I said, that we weren't doing him, but this is one of my favorite artists, bro. Like he draws Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman like no other. I mean, I think I like Alex Ross's versions of them too, but Jim Lee is like my number one. So I pulled out some of my old school Jim Lee books and read some of those this weekend. I got like 50 books I haven't even read yet from my bundle, from my pool. So I got to get to it. All this, I think the new run, the Darth Vader run. I'm trying to get into the High Republic.
Yeah,
I have the first like 15 books, and I'm like, I don't know. I gotta start getting into them again and see what happens. But I mean, that's it for me, bro. I gotta catch up.
yeah. I
The High
mean,
Republic is like they've even said, it's written for like a younger audience. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah, I
supposed to
see
be,
that
like,
now.
It's not going to be like, War of the Bounty Hunters or anything like that. If you're going to get into that, you just have to be in that mindset, because it's definitely that type of content.
Yeah, it's definitely a younger run that they're going with it. And they said to eventually expect the build up. It just hasn't happened yet. But there is going to be a build up to the actual story going forward. But they wanted to start it this way specifically for a reason. Which is going to be interesting. You know what I mean? It's definitely interesting to see where it's going to go. But
I'm trying to hold on, bro, because it's a Star Wars, it's a Star Wars read. So I try to everything Star Wars I try to buy. So it's like I'm trying to hold on to that book, but it's just like, oh god, like after like I'm up to like number, I think 16.
Yeah,
I think, or book 17, something like that. I can't remember, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I might hold on to it. We'll see.
Looks like there are a bunch of people in the chat already eagerly waiting the Quantumania trailer. In the meantime, or we'll just like in the lead up to the movie, though, recommended reading, you should check out this new one shot that Marvel just dropped the other week, Timeless. It's all Kang, and this was a really, really good read, really, really fun, and it sets up a lot of stuff. There are going to be multiple events throughout the year in Marvel Comics that Kang is going to play a role in as we kind of build up to their kind of what they're planning for 2023. So definitely check out this book, especially if you're ready to get your Kang on in the Ant-Man movie. Check this out.
That's a movie connect?
No, it has nothing to do with the movie. It's just Kang. Kang is both, actually, who knows, it could mirror maybe what some plans that they might have in the MCU, but both Kang and Thanos are supposed to have like big roles in 2023 in the comics. Thanos just had his one shot like a month or two back called Death Notes, and now we've got this Timeless one for Kang. And this book, even at the end of it, has a list of a bunch of the different events that are happening in Marvel Comics this year, starting off with Sins of Sinister, which is coming up. And so I think both of those guys are going to have big roles down the road this year in Marvel. I don't know if they're going to collide, if both of them are going to be in the same storyline, or if they're going to have their own. But like anybody who's just feeling that excitement for Kang in Quantumania next month, this is a good read right now, and kind of gives you a little bit of a taste of like who Kang is as a character and what kind of impact he might have in the current Marvel landscape. So
I got to get back into Thanos, bro. I stopped Thanos after Gamora kills him. So I got to get back into it. I know they brought us back out with another one.
They just, like I said, Death Notes, the one shot that they just did was really, really good. So they've done two really good one shots in the last like month or two with two of the top villains, for the Avengers and Marvel Comics in general. So it's definitely a good time to check those two out.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm gonna
definitely.
grab that.
He writes down names in the Death Note journal instead of snapping.
What?
That's a joke.
Oh yeah, I'm about to get back into that one, and that's awesome.
I thought you were going to go with some sort of joke about like
It was. It was
In
Death Note joke.
a Death Note joke.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to lean into like like Steve Rogers
You gotta bring him.
in the Winter Soldier.
You gotta bring him the
writing all
apple.
different things in his notebook and like checking.
You gotta have the apple. You gotta have the
Man
apple.
soundtrack.
Trouble Man soundtrack. You gotta have the apple in the classroom.
No doubt.
Anyway, V, what's going on, man? How you doing, man? How was your weekend, brother?
I'm feeling good, feeling great, man. Just enjoying some R&R and getting some stuff done around the house this weekend, and looking forward more to catching up on comics. I'm way behind, but I've been doing some organizing because that's typically what I do first before I get into real big binge reads, is just go through all my polls for the year and get them all organized, and then rack them up and then read them out. And so I've been doing a lot of that, and then I've gotten a decent bit of commissions lately, so I've been doing some prep work on those ready, the clients, stuff like that. So I've been busy, just different type of busy, so been just enjoying it. Finished I watched Watcher on Netflix last week, and I got to catch Alice in Borderland 2. So if you're a fan of Squid Games, check out Alice in Borderland. It actually came out first. I'm disappointed it's not.
I have to watch that.
Alice in Borderland is dope, yo. I don't know why.
I gotta watch it, bro.
It's
see
so
it
weird
on
to me
Netflix.
that
I gotta watch it.
Is that Netflix?
Squid Games blew up and Alice in Borderland didn't really hit, but to me it's better.
Yeah, I watched the first episode. I just watched the first episode over the weekend. It was pretty dope. There was the one where they were in the room going room. So I'm not really talking too much about it, but I was basically watching.
So it's a part 2 already. It's a part 2 already.
They dropped season 2 like right before Christmas, so so season 2 out.
I gotta watch it, bro. I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah,
I just finished catching up. I just finished catching up on Picard season 2, so I need something. So I'll jump into something.
Oh man, that ended. I like how that ended, bro. Picard season 2 was good.
Season 3 is supposed to start next month, so.
And they're bringing back the whole crew.
That's about it, though, bro.
The old generation. That's what's up.
So, thanks to everybody out there in the chat. Let me address these people that we have out there, tuning in tonight. We got Yuli the Kid, Yuli the second kid. Thank you for being here, man. SBB in the building. Thank you for being here. Charlie the Unicorn. Saw you talk about that earlier, man. World War Hawk 2026. We got to talk about that. That's definitely news to me. Let me see what else we actually have out here. We got Malika Babain in the building. Thank you for being here, brother. We got Luminar, as always. Thank you for being here. Louis Labitz in the building. Thank you for being here. My guy, Calvin Williams, as always. Thank you for being here. Dogito is in the building. Thank you for being here. Amber May. Who else do we actually have here? We got Marvel Les. Les is in the building. Thank you for being here, lady. Who else we got? Swoosh 616 is in the building. Thank you for being here. Two Ferns. We got Renstown Latino, OG fan with Star Wars was just Star Wars. We got Mark Attack in the building. Thank you for being here. He says Arthur Adams is his lifelong favorite artist. Yeah, bro. Definitely. Arthur was in the goal. I would actually say early 80s, mid 80s. He was in the golden age of what it meant to be definitely a fan and how beautiful it was. That run and some of the writers, excellent writers, but the art in the books was what basically got me attached. The 80s big hair, the flashy jackets, flashy uniforms, definitely was his style. So we're gonna definitely dive into that. But
yellow.
thank you for mentioning that. Again. So yeah, a lot to really cover. So we're just gonna kind of jump into it real quick. And you feature exactly you wanted to talk about it. We're gonna bring him in. Definitely one of my favorite artists. But before we do so, I do want to actually talk about something really quick. And that's a giveaway that we actually got going on right now. If you haven't gotten all the information, at least to kind of let you know about what's popping off. We are head on straight into 2023 with a giveaway that is sponsored by my bro Marcos over there at what it is, man. Collector Zone. If you haven't already headed over and going over there, you want to make sure you do. And we're giving away the Iron Man Origins Deluxe giveaway. Courtesy of my bro Marco over there at Collector Zone. Now, what you basically have to do as always, you have to become a member of the Figure Flex Friday Facebook group. Okay. The member of the Figure Flex Friday Facebook group. Head on over there, make sure you do that. And also become a member of Collector Zone Facebook group. That's Collector Zone Cantina on Facebook. You want to make sure you basically do. Also, there's going to be a video posted either tonight or tomorrow morning. Once we post that video, under the video, you have to basically tell us why you like Iron Man and why is if he's your favorite character. Once you do that, there's going to be a pick to basically see who, again, from both groups, we'll pick the best, throw it in the pile, and we'll decide on who basically wins this figure. It's as easy as that. So definitely you want to actually head on and make sure you do that, and you could win, because I guarantee you, and I'm just going to tell you right now, I had that figure, and honestly,
do not sleep on that figure.
Honestly, as far as Iron Man figures, it is my favorite Iron Man suit.
Yep.
Period.
Don't let anybody be like, oh, the plastic on it ruins it. Fuck that.
Nah, that's like a force field to me, bro.
I'm old school. See, this is a legit fit.
Yeah.
Like, I almost bought a second one, and I still might.
It's a legit figure. It's
so
amazing.
Damn good. And when the stealth suit one and the War Machine come out, I'm telling you that display is gonna be sick.
Hell yeah, that display is.
With that blue stealth suit,
that blue stealth suit is incredible, man. So definitely, if you haven't already, again, and this is your chance, you get a chance to basically win it for free. Become a member of the Figure Flex Friday Facebook group, and also become a member of the Collector Zone Facebook group, Collector Zone Cantina Facebook group. And by doing so, you have your chance to basically win that piece. So definitely, and to get that, and I'm telling you, to swap out pieces for it, spec-fucking-tacular. So definitely you want to actually head on in there and make sure you do so, because you can definitely win that. I'm just being completely honest. It is well worth it. Definitely well worth it. So yeah. So without further ado, we're going to kind of dive in here real quick. I want to actually have a conversation about this dude. I mean, one of my favorite artists of all time, and that is none other than my guy, Arthur Adams. If you're a fan of the 80s, I just put it to you like that. If you're definitely a fan of the 80s, if you came up in the 80s, I was born in the 70s, but I'm an 80s boy at heart, and actually came up in the 80s, and everything that definitely Arthur Adams dropped, especially X-Men titles. I mean, man, I was all in. And I think he himself has basically, he was part of the reason why I was highly influenced. I mean, I was always an X-Men fan, but I think he reinvigorated my, love for it just based off of the art. One of my favorite, and the reason why I say that is I fell in love with Storm, and I'm gonna show you why I fell in love with Storm, because this cover or this piece right here by Arthur Adams, you might find it. I don't know if you have the key or you get the passcode to Vinny's room. You might find this art Pete in his room, but this right here, man, I loved the way he drew Storm and the way he drew a lot of his characters. I mean, it was, the colors popped. The yellow on it was incredible. I loved how he drew his characters. Again, he was literally influenced by the 80s. It was crazy how Colossus always had a high top fade. I never really, thought about why they always gave him a high top fade. He's had one since we've known him. But yeah, literally, I actually have this print, literally. And it's because I needed it. It is one of my favorite of all times. I mean, I love Arthur Adams' work. Literally, again, I have to say it again. He was really the reason why I was reinvigorated in the X-Men universe, because of how his style. And again, pay attention to this. I want y'all to pay attention to this. That is Logan's height. Okay. So that's how tall he really is. Okay. Get that through your head. He's not Hugh Jackman tall. This is how he is. So just keep that in mind. But yes, he is definitely, my favorite artist, one of my favorite artists of all time. Vinny, what you think about Art's work, man?
Art's another inspiration of mine because of his tight pencils. I feel like subconsciously or consciously, there's always like influence of in my stuff of stuff I picked up from other people and what they did that I liked, and nobody kind of does hair like Art Adams. It's something that you don't think about, but like if you look at how he draws King Kong, it's fucking crazy, and I always just admired that detail, the way he does it. Like he doesn't cop out, he does insanely detailed work, which is one of the reasons why he'll typically focus, especially for the past 30 years or so, mostly on one shots or cover variant work. Like he doesn't do like full comics that much because of his schedule. Like it takes him too long to do regular work, so he'd be more happy with just doing his own pace. And and so if you look at his stuff, it's super detailed with hatching and cross hatching. Like he's one of the cross hatching kings. And a lot of the artists that you see now in the business are, have adopted some of his detailed style. Like just back in the day in the 80s, like his style was detailed, but then as it went closer to the 90s, there was definitely a big difference in his work, where he just took as much time as he needed to take. And you look at like how he drew Wolverine and how he drew, a lot of his creator own work, like Monkey Man and O'Brien or Tom Strong. Like that stuff is detailed as hell, and there's just so much detail and intricacy that he puts in his work, and you see it a lot in like his other one shots. Like another one that was a big key for me growing up was the New Fantastic Four, and the art that he did with Hulk and Ghost Rider and Wolverine and Spider-Man. It just blew my mind, because it was it's a weird way to describe it, but it was like light and dark at the same time. Like it was super detailed. There was dark, but it was just like it popped. The colors popped, the detail popped. He was just such a fucking beast. Like his work was just always so just incredible. And he did amazing work on team books like X-Men and helped, bring a lot of characters that were not as famous as others, like Longshot or Mojo. Like he had an affinity for the less desirable characters. To like
Longshot was his baby, bro.
Like that's always a sign of a great creator. Like when they want to put their stamp on somebody who nobody else gives a shit about. And the fact that to this day, Mojo and and Longshot are the characters that people are cult class or cult favorites, and that's because of him. Like that's because of his inspiration on those books. They probably would have just died in on the ground when they came out and didn't take. But it was him like putting those characters over that really made those characters as amazing as they were. And he's amazing. I have a couple of his prints, meeting him at cons. I have a Sentinels print from him, and I have another X-Men print. Like I was honored as hell to meet him and talk with him for a few minutes, and like he's just still going. Like I follow his IG and his social media stuff, and he do mostly like commissions and single page work and stuff like that, but nobody draws like women quite like him. His like if you want to be blown away, just Google like Invisible Woman or Phoenix or Adam stuff. Like he
Storm with the mohawk
nails it. Storm with the mohawk. Like he's a problem, bro. He's amazing, and he's like, I don't know, he's one of those most famous, not famous artists. You know what I mean? Like everybody loves his stuff, but his name isn't the ones that are just always mentioned. He's like not a household name, but it's like but everybody loves his shit. It's so bizarre, because I think it's a big part of that is so because he doesn't have because he doesn't do like standing interiors and like regular work. He likes to do those spas, commission stuff, covers, variants, stuff like that. But he's a monster. He's been a legend in the game for a long time, and it's I mean, I've never seen a just decent piece from him. It's always amazing.
Yeah, definitely, bro. He's a brilliant artist. Definitely one of my favorites, pretty much of all time, man. Butt naked. I know your butt cheeks is cold on that seat, but bro, your take on your boy Art Adams, bro?
I mean, to be honest, whenever I think of him, I think of hair. I think
hair, man. That's what I'm saying. It's just nobody does hair like Art Adams.
Rogue with that just crazy big ass like hair metal, like it's hair metal. Storm with and without the mohawk, still just amazing. Long shot had that just big ass blonde mullet, right? Like
the blonde mullet.
It was just so. It was the era, and it was just like it was so 80s, 90s, like that kind of like anarchy rock, like just kind of like vibe that you got from his art all the time. And hair, even like you look at Logan and he just had like the hair all the way up his arms. You could tell he was just a hairy son of a bitch. Like Art Adams, the way he drew him. So he did Action Comics, and like he did Fantastic Four and stuff. I'll tell you, to be honest, I think I like his Spider-Man more than Todd McFarlane's. And yeah, I mean, it's always just a feast for the eyes. Like, and he's one of those guys that you're reading one of the books that he did the artwork for, and after a while you forget to you realize, shit, I forgot to actually read. I've just been flipping the pages and looking at the art for like 10-15 minutes. Like, I got to go back like 10 pages and actually start reading everything because I was just looking at the pages and the panels and stuff. So yeah, it's one of those things where I mean, he even did one of my favorite artwork for something that I love that I have in my collection. I don't have it with me right now, but it's one of the keys in my Daredevil collection. It's an external key because it's Marvel Team Up 141, and I don't know if it'll focus, but it's with Spider-Man and Daredevil, this one is actually tied. This one is actually tied for the second appearance because they were published at the same time. The second appearance of the black suit. So it's a really cool key. It's a really cool part of my collection. And just because it's that Daredevil and Spider-Man, it's one of my favorite pieces that he worked on. But that being said, I always think of hair and specifically the X-Men when it comes to Art Adams. They just go together.
Bro, like even like the few times that he, was able to encompass, the Beyonder at one point. Hair. He made, what I mean? His hair was big. He makes the vibrant suits. Like Art Adams is, his work, especially like he what I love about his work, and when it comes to women especially, is that he doesn't over accentuate. He just pulls he gives you the right angles, the right curvatures,
the right amount
that it's not overly sexualized, but it's just beautiful in art. You know what I mean? And
but
that's what I loved about it.
What's dope is he'll draw women curvy, but not just big breasts. Like
not crazy.
They won't be like stick figures with like quadruple D's. Like they'll look naturally.
Proportionate.
Yep.
Like he's really, 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 his work is, impeccable. Like, and like you said, Brendan, like when you're so caught up in the artwork that you go through the pages like, oh shit, all right, let me go back, read the story. You know what I mean? And I think like even with back then, he was the reason why I even I was drawing back in the day, but he was like, I just started really getting into artwork because of his work, just how he drew, because I think he was more, because even a lot of people don't know that Art Adams basically was heavily influenced in even the fashion industry because of the way he drew his art. Like a lot of his concept art was used in the fashion industry to produce pieces. You know,
well, because he was also his art was was also very much in keeping with the times.
Yeah.
So it was almost like if there was like there was a fashion designer in the 80s,
he would copy
and they
that
were
thing.
doing sketches. That's what his stuff was. It was like he was designing stuff that was hot in the moment. Right. And to the point where it almost looked like he was setting the fashion trend rather than like following it when he was drawing, you know, Storm and Rogue and all these other characters. So I mean, he's one of, like I said, he's one of those artists that I'll be like, oh damn, I got to go back 10 pages and actually read everything that I wasn't paying attention to because I was looking at the art. And they're a handful, not a lot, but they're a handful of artists that I do that regularly with. David Mack is one because I just love his art so much that I'll be just flipping through pages and be like, shit, all right, I got to go back and actually read what's supposed to be happening on these pages. And you know, Art Adams is probably one of the earliest that I did that with.
Yeah, that's a gold picture.
I mean, the massive hair and it just
you knew it was his work.
It's weird to say, but it made them so much larger than life.
And
like that style of like jacket that Rogue's wearing right there, and it was just.
Oh, let me pull that in, Vinny.
That's the print I have from him. I got that at Comic-Con 2 years ago, and then I've had this lithograph. This is one of my favorites too.
That's awesome.
I love how he draws Spidey.
Yeah, that's just insane. Yeah. And then what you see is a lot of times he'll do these big lithographs with like freaking everybody in them. Like if you get a chance, if you want, you pull up his original Sin gatefold with just like everybody, and it's just insane. And that's one of the cool things about, you know, his work ethic now. It's just like, I want to do these big ass detailed, you know, pieces, and I'm going to take as long as it takes to do them, and you'll get over it.
Yeah.
In that one that you just showed, Vinny, I love how in the top left corner, Doctor Strange is the cloak of levitation, the way it's billowing like that. It's so like, I love the way he would do stuff like that. He would make it like a music video. Yeah. Where like the hair or the cloak.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
Like there's a fan blowing on them.
Dope.
You open his books, man. And like, I mean, I remember going to like the 7-Eleven or the Bernie's comic book store by my house. And I would grab, you know, anything Superman, Batman, and X-Men. Because at the time when Art was drawing, bro, it was like you open up a comic book, the X-Men books, and you're like, yo, it's like a Poison video or Bon Jovi video or Sister. It was like everything was like rocker, like
and even if you go back and look at, you know, a lot of his, you know, because there was even a run that
Twisted
he did.
Sister.
Yeah, and that was like influential
like
for like characters such as like Typhoid Mary. Because even when he drew Typhoid Mary, her hair was huge, bro, like straight up over her shoulders. But
he was crazy in those books, man. When he drew her back in the day, it was like it was insane. It was straight out of a music video. It was great. He's one of those artists that, like, even if you don't read a book, you see that he's doing the art on it, and you'll pick it up. You'll be like, well, he's doing it, so I'm gonna check this out.
Right, even with Cyclops
too.
Even with Cyclops, when he would have his hoodie on, having the hood on, you wouldn't know, like, oh, he ain't got no hair. Man, he pulled that hoodie off, all Cyclops hair out. I loved how he drew it. The only one that had tight hair back then was Colossus. He always had like the straight flat top, but everybody else hair was like all 80s.
Flat top, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's all
he looked like Flat Top from the old Dick Tracy.
He did.
It was like razor.
Colossus.
Like,
razor
you could
sharp.
balance balance like a book on his head or something.
But the rest of the crew, even Nightcrawler, bro, like Beast, all of them, bro.
His Phoenix is crazy too. His fire is up there too.
Oh,
anything anything you gotta throw a lot of detail in, that's your guy.
He always went to that next level with his detail with I guess with the uniforms and the hair and all this, everything was just extra with him, man. Like,
and super clean too. That's a big difference too, because there's guys that work dirty detail, kind of like McFarlane or your Dale Keown or guys like that, or Silvestri. They were kind of like a dirty, just messy everywhere style.
You can still see it
detailing.
But
then there's clean detail guys. Like his stuff is super detailed, but also clean. That's kind of like his, and which takes much longer because it's fucking nerve wracking to do all that hatching, but none of it be sloppy and still look all clean.
Yeah,
I love Toya's comment. His fro on Misty Knight recently was praiseworthy.
Oh yeah, dude. Like
he's
always over the top, bro, with his stuff.
Dude, I want to see Misty and Colleen get more time in the books right now. They had like one little kind of thing in the Beyond part of Spider-Man recently, but like I want to see them back in action.
Yeah, definitely.
Give them their own book, Daughters of the Dragon. Give us something.
Yeah.
Misty Knight should never get more play, man. She's a female heavyweight. Like, she really is, bro. I want to see her and Storm together more, too.
Yeah.
She's definitely heavyweight.
I think that you're going to get that because supposedly there's talks that, we could see. Now, it's not going to be the same actress, of course. They're looking for someone a bit younger. But
I loved her in that role, though.
Yeah,
she killed it.
She
killed
it. Oh, she killed
She's a judge now on TV. So, man, Misty Knight, she was perfect.
Yeah, but and the girl that played Colleen too, she was awesome.
Yeah.
And she was great in that too because you believe she's wise and intelligent enough to be a detective instead of bringing in some 20-year-old detective. I mean, not everybody should be recast as a 20-year-old kid.
And see, that's the kind of show that I think Disney Plus would do because they're doing all these random characters that you never thought would get a show. Give us a Daughters of the Dragon. Give us, Misty and Colleen. I could absolutely see Disney Plus doing a show like that. Bring back those actresses, man. They were too damn.
But you know what? Why she was so good too, bro? And when she fought, you actually knew she could fight. You believed she could knock somebody out, bro. Like. What she fought better than Iron Man,
Jones,
bro.
Both of them in real life could just whoop him.
They fought better than the damn Iron Fist. Both of them fight better than him. Like, yo, I was like,
my mom can fight better than that dude.
Word, bro. Like,
Jessica Henwick is a crime. What happened with Iron Fist? That she was like, a casualty of war because she's everything that was great about that show was part of her and Misty. Like they fucking. I mean,
together, bro.
Like they had back injuries from how much they carried that fucking show.
Yep.
Marvel offered they were going to bring her in a cameo in a recent movie. I can't remember what it was, but they were going to bring her back in
as Misty
as a cameo. No, Colleen.
Yeah.
But she said no in favor of doing the fourth Matrix movie.
Oh man!
She thought that there was going to be more upside for her.
Yeah,
she
bet on
that major franchise. Rather than
what a bad bet! What a bad bet!
Yeah, dude.
Damn, she could have killed that.
Talked about that, I was like, oh damn.
She could have killed that, man. Damn. She was her fighting skills were impressive, dog. Both of them. That garage scene where it was Misty and her fighting them guys and bruh. I was like, yo.
Unbelievable.
Luminari, you are correct. Misty Knight and Jean Grey were roommates back in the day in the comics.
Wow.
It's a deep cut. I'm glad she knew that.
I didn't know that one. Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome, bro. We need a Misty and Storm team up like ASAP. That'd be a good book.
Oh shit!
Look at that, Spidey. Oh, did it drop?
Yeah, they did.
You're watching it right now. I can see it flashing in your fucking details.
Oh snap! Let me go. Let me go.
Flashing in your details.
Let me go to the phone.
All right, y'all. It's been real. Have a good night.
Yeah. No, I ain't going.
I'll watch it after.
Yeah, we'll definitely watch it after.
Let me go to the phones.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty dope. I don't know why they decided to basically show it now.
Go ahead and tell Vinny about it.
So no, I'm not going to tell Vinny.
They were.
So definitely.
Super Bowl.
So
they should have dropped it right before after Super Bowl. Still Flash's Thunder.
Yeah. The Super Bowl. Yeah,
they should have dropped it right before or after the Flash's trailer. Anywhere to steal their thunder. That would have been smart.
Yeah. But yeah, so again, everybody, that's your boy Arthur Adams, artist supreme, one of the best, out there at, what he's done, his contributions to, again, for me, when it came to the X-Men runs, it's always going to be my favorite artist. And definitely I appreciate his work. Fortunate to get a few prints, stuff that I actually have in my collection. So excited about it. But I can't wait to see what comes next. So definitely. But now going forward, like what I wanted to actually move into, because again, we know that, coming off of, I think, I like me reading the books, coming off of the, special event that we just had, Judgment Day, which included the Eternals, which included, the X-Men, the Avengers, everything that was actually there. I mean, it was so amazing, to me. And I love the philosophics behind it, when it comes to, just us, for people who haven't really read the book, it, kind of deals with humanity and the sins of humanity and how we just don't change. You know what I mean? Like, we always talk about we're going to change, but we just don't change as much as we should. You know what I mean? But also the run itself going forward can also be self-explanatory when it comes to what happens in the future with the MCU. And I think that that's, pretty much where they might even lean into from what I'm hearing. But it was definitely a phenomenal run. But I want to go back earlier. I want to go back way back before we actually got the Avengers versus the Eternals versus the X-Men. I want to go back to where it was actually the Avengers versus the X-Men. That run was so effing powerful because you had so many things that were taking place.
That was a good one.
You know what I mean? You had, pretty much Hope Summers at that time, who became a target. You actually also had the overzealous of power when it came to individuals who, were, the device, or actually when the Phoenix power was divided between 5 individuals. And you saw basically how that would utilize. We saw a different side of Cyclops that was like, yo, wow.
He was
like
dark
literally
for a minute.
Really dark. We saw, and you got a chance to see. I mean, we already knew the feud was brewing between, Namor and Panther, but this amplified that, by tenfold. Also, we got a chance to see, one of the characters, I think one of the most underrated aspects of this story, and what I thought was the dopest, was the constant chase, between Bishop and Cable. You know what I mean? And the closeness in that relationship that was established. It was like when reading this book, it was like a passing of the guard, because we actually got a chance to see, where, Cable himself being raised by a Scotty son, like the Scotty tribe, at that point. And his development to now him becoming a mentor and a father figure to Hope Summers, and teaching her basically how to survive and not really depend on just her powers, but just surviving in general. I thought it was impactful. I love that story. Again, I think going forward, it's important to basically recognize that, because this is something that we could eventually see, them take that turn, because, there's rumors, hence, I won't really go into it, but there's rumors and hints of how they're going to introduce the X-Men into the MCU. And part of it is dealing with Judgment Day and the possibilities of the effects of Judgment Day and what it can actually have, within that comic. And I think that was incredible. And,
man, we need that uniform in the 6 scale right there. That Cyclops. Woo.
I know, crazy, right? But remember, it was crazy because I remember you and I, Brendan, talking about how the repercussions of Judgment Day was going to probably be a setup to what we were going to actually see going forward in the MCU. And it looks like that could be a start, because Yurishim the Judge, is going to definitely play a role in this. But damn, bro, like if they do that, and if we see a full-fledged live action Genosha, in the MCU, that's going to be crazy. But definitely one of my favorite runs is right here in front of you. Like, it was incredible. Vinny, I'm gonna start with you on this one, man. You read this story, right?
Yes. Yep.
Your thoughts behind it, bro?
This was done incredibly well considering how gimmicky it could have been, or it could have just been an excuse just to have
the two best teams
a versus battle, like at the playground of who would win, and just give excuse for different people to fight different people, just to have the splash page and not really have any depth to the actual story. But there was a lot going on here, and a lot of history was brought up and infused in it, but yet it felt accessible, where you didn't need to, have been reading X-Men or Avengers for the past 50 years to like got it. And I think what was one of the most interesting things to me was Cap was kind of like on the other side of Civil War a little bit. I mean, he was basically coming in saying like, you guys don't deserve this kind of power anymore because you keep fucking it up. And every time y'all get the Phoenix Force, everybody, pays for it. So enough. And he had a really good point. But at the same time, that's kind of like what the Registration Act was about. It's like, y'all aren't being responsible with your power, so you're on timeout. And that's kind of what the crux of the story was, in a way, because they wanted to be able to, keep the Phoenix Force out of these kids' hands, is how he's seen it, pretty much. And a lot went into those stories, and like you said, the Namor and Black Panther stuff was crazy. We've seen just the growth of Hope's character, that if you weren't up on her before, it like got to show you how powerful she was, and how powerful Scarlet Witch wound up being in the story as a resolution. And then of course you have the conflict between Cyclops and Professor X too. Like this was Death of Professor X, and you got to see, this was kind of also the jump off of kind of Marvel playing with giving the Phoenix Force to more people. Like this was a big deal when the Five got it, and then it's kind of lost a little bit of that appeal since. Of a lot of people have had it since, and it's kind of like the Gauntlet. Like only one or two people ever had it back in the day, and now half the Marvel universes had a turn with the Gauntlet. So, and that's good and bad. Like it's definitely an interesting story catalyst, but this was an amazing story. It didn't draw out very long. It wasn't like a multi-year event that tied into too many books, but yeah, at the same time, instead of being kind of annoying with how it made you, tackle the other books, the Avengers books during this period was really good, and so was the X-Men books, and they had great art and great fleshing out story on their ends. So it kind of helped. It helped their respective books, as opposed to handcuffed them to the story. So there was just a lot that went on here, and I love that. Every time the Phoenix shows up, it's kind of like the X-Men just happen to deal with it, and it's almost like the rest of the world just like sits on the bench and it's like hopes for the best. And it makes so much sense that Marvel Universe would jump in and be like, what the fuck are we gonna do about this? And that's what one of the cool things about the story was, is like the Avengers had enough. It's like, nah, you this time we're gonna help you handle it. Give it up. So I love the story. I feel like one of the things that people call for is, when I can't wait till the X-Men show up so we can get Avengers versus X-Men. And it's like, slow down. there's so much that X-Men would have to do to be established to make sense this, to get to this point. But eventually this would be an incredible story that even when we get it, it'll be obviously, much changed than, what they did in the comics. But it was, a lot of things that was very lofty that they set out to accomplish in this book, and it was a home run. It's one of the best crossover events that they've had in years, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that was one of the dopest parts of this storyline. Again, really what was dope is when we got a chance to see it was crazy to see how the techno organic virus really took over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we seen Cable in his full robotic form, but he did it to save Hope. You know what I mean? Like it was his way of saying, like, you know, and even like now, if you know, reading, the most recent Judgment Day, in the books, like really now she still sees Cable as her father.
Yeah.
Like she's like, where's my father? You know what I mean? She always, that's her father. You know what I mean? She knows him, you know, as her father. And that relationship, it's like if you're a father of a daughter, it's like, yo, you know how it feels to want to protect and give everything for your child. And that's why I felt as though like it was literally, I can read that book over and over again, you know, because of that relationship, the importance of that relationship, the development of Hope. Even though like lately, like in most runs, especially in the X-Men run, you know, and that's one of the reasons why, you know, when I think about it, is like, you know, she's a powerful individual. Like she's a powerful character. But yet in the storylines lately, she's taken a back seat, with her powers. They basically made her, or given her God level powers, but it's like they nerfed her down to make other characters important. You know what I mean? More important, you know, than her. But again, this story, I mean, what I loved about this story, bro, is because it was probably, you know, like in what you just said, Vinny, it forced you to go back and read. So because you had to go between stories, like you had to go from the X-Men to
but they were doing
the
like
Avengers.
Bendis on Avengers during this time was just killing it. And Mike Deodato was killing it too. And they had, I believe, New Avengers was running also at this time. And both art and writer teams were just like, they stepped up to the plate. Like they were, you know, everybody realized the importance of how big this crossover was, and they wanted to make their books that ran alongside it matter. And those stories that like were fleshed out in the, you know, the team books, they were really good. Like they were powerful, like amazing stories, and the art was on point. It was a really like successful event for Marvel because there had been a bunch of misses, and this was not one of them. This was amazing.
It definitely was not a miss. I mean, and the thing is, it was just so, I couldn't, it was like you had to wait. And that's the only thing about like, but you know what? That's what was, again, I think it's like a lost thing for us. Like even now, you know, as adults, because life takes over, it's like you would have to wait until the next issue dropped. And you were so enticed about it. Like you could not wait until Wednesday to go out and get your books to find out what happened next.
It's also a rare event where after the fact, after the event, something so big comes out of it. Because usually it's kind of like the event happens, and then after the fact, something happens where it's like it's not a big deal anymore. But a whole nother title came out of this with Uncanny Avengers that put members, members of both teams on the same book, which was like man, those early books with Madeira and like those, like that art was incredible. The story it wasn't the best stories ever, but it was really fun seeing the different mix-ups of those members on that team, because it always seemed kind of like a no-brainer before, because you have kind of like in DC, you have your best of the whole universe making up the Justice League, but everybody's split off in Marvel. It's very rare you have a team with like, you know, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Eternals, Inhumans. Like they don't have like a best from every team as an all-star team like DC has. Whereas this put, you know, it didn't have the Four or Inhumans or anything like in it like that. But even just putting the best of, you know, some of the best characters in X-Men and Avengers on the same team was new. Like that hadn't really been done, especially not for an ongoing.
Yeah, where it was a mix, because the only person at that time, there were only, I would say, like a handful, maybe 2 members at the time that were, you know, notable members of the Avengers team, which was, of course, we know Wolverine and Beast at that time. You know, but then now because of the events here, and it was done, you know, so that, you know, there could be a watchful eye on what was happening, you know, with the X-Men, to kind of keep them in check, in a sense, at the same time that the event would never happen again. We knew that after this, and what transpired with this, when it came to Cyclops, they kept him restrained until, of course, we know later on books he was broken out and, you know, whatever. But You know,
it also
literally.
puts some respect on Cyclops' name, which
yeah, man, seeing him in that, seeing him with the Phoenix when that
when was
that
the last
oh
time
my
you
god,
heard, I mean, he had a whole campaign like Cyclops was right and all this, and like he was popular for the first time,
in a while.
I can remember, because he was always like, man, people shit on Cyclops, but like after this period of time, people were like, oh, okay. People who never really gave him a chance before like sat back and was like, oh, all right, that's what y'all talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Now
because he was always a Boy Scout though. Cyclops was always a Boy Scout. To see him like dark and the black suit with the big red phoenix and the new visor. Oh my god! Like that was a whole different dude, man.
Yeah.
So
like just and the deviation, like the of the actual power, dispersed. Again, I pulled this up because if y'all want to know the true hatred and why eventually, what, at the hands of Panther, what really happened going forward, this is one of the reasons why, Namor just gave no fucks about Wakanda.
He came up there and washed them away.
No fucks, bro, at that time.
Man.
Yeah, if you're a comic book reader watching Wakanda Forever, when he showed up, you were like, they fucked.
Yeah, definitely they are
he
fucked.
Knew what, if they were going to do it, based off source material, he pulled no punches in the comics. They were fucked. I mean, they're still fucked.
Definitely. They are definitely butt naked. With this run, I mean, literally, when we compare this run to Judgment Day, it's sort of like when you think that it, in my opinion, like now I know that you had like some reservations with Judgment Day. I think you said like how it ended. You were, like, was it how it ended that you?
Yeah, I enjoyed Judgment Day. I thought overall it was a good event, and I thought that I understood the ending. It just felt a little anticlimactic in that I thought that we were building to something that I thought was going to be really explosive, and then it kind of just meandered. It just kind of like petered out. And I understand the ending, and I like what it sets up moving forward for the Eternals, for the X-Men, I get all that. This just like AVX just felt like it had more of like a finale, more of just like, holy shit. Like, okay, now we got to deal with what's coming out of this. So as far as which event I prefer, definitely AVX, but I have a lot of love for Judgment Day. I think it was one of the best events that Marvel has done in the last 5 years. As far as AVX goes, I love AVX. I mean, I would have goosebumps. I'd be like ready to read the next issue.
Yeah.
I've always loved Cyclops as a character. And I think a lot more kind of respect for his power and his strategic thinking have come out of that, especially if you're reading the current X books right now and you realize he's like a general. Like people look to him. It used to be, he's like the Boy Scout, but now everybody's like, if we need to win a war, I want Cyclops planning the strategy. Because this motherfucker,
it's about time, man. He's got that respect,
and he will, and he can strategize, and he knows how to win a war.
He does.
And that's something that I think came out of, and even in Judgment Day, like in the early moments of Judgment Day, when everything started to pop off, you had Steve Rogers and Cyclops meet, like just the two of them off the side to because he wanted to go to Cyclops and be like, all right, what's going on here, and how are we gonna not let shit go the way it went last time?
Like two kings meeting in the middle of a battlefield.
Right. These are the two generals.
That's how it was.
These are the guys. And you could see the respect that Steve Rogers has for Cyclops. That people didn't have before AVX. That one shot of that when that first kind of, confrontation with the Avengers and the X-Men in AVX, and he hits him with the optic blast and it sends Cap flying back with the shield and stuff. it wasn't like Cap just shrugging it off. It was like, holy shit, like it told people like, hey, Cyclops is on a higher level than people are really giving this character credit for.
Yeah.
And so you had that I think really elevated him, and we're still seeing that today, combined with giving us a character, you know, and developing her in the way they did with Hope. That was great. You know, what we have now with Hope, with Rachel Summers, it all stems back to this. I loved how it was brilliant to do this event at a time when you have two X-Men, particularly Wolverine, on the Avengers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because now he said he wants to, even though he's on the Avengers, but he's a mutant, but he wants to kill her because he doesn't want to see what happened to Jean happen again.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so pulling him in both directions of wanting to kill her and of being an X-Men and being an Avenger was absolutely brilliant. It was also, I wish that was the, you know, the beast of this event was the beast that we have now, because I absolutely hate the way they've written Beast in recent years, you know, with the whole X-Force kind of thing. Like, on the one hand, it's cool because you're looking at for him to like fucking, you know, get his due, get his comeuppance. But at the same time, it's just, I just don't like what they've done with that character.
Yeah.
But yet the artwork in this, the writing, you know, Brian Michael Bendis and the rest of the crew there, the art is phenomenal. They actually just put out an AVX omnibus a couple months back that I'm actually I've got to pick up. I'm gonna be getting it soon. That thing is 1,680 pages. 1,680 fucking pages. That's how big this event was. All right.
Yeah.
There were 13 main AVX issues,
events that were going on all at once.
Because
it
there
never
was
felt
an
like you were
issue
milking
number
it, though.
0. No, it didn't.
Nah.
And there was an issue number 0. So it actually went 0 to 12 of Avengers versus X-Men. But then you had all the tie-ins with New Avengers, Secret Avengers, Secret War, all of that stuff. But then you also had one of the ones that I enjoyed the most was the verses, the AVX versus ones, where you just had because you wanted to just give a really good showcase of an awesome battle, but you couldn't just sandwich it in between a couple of pages in the main book that, you know,
the main
where the main plot is happening. So you had these pullouts, these standalones that are just the versus ones. You got Thing and Colossus. There was a Colossus with like the Juggernaut kind of helmet and stuff going up against Spider-Man. There was Daredevil versus Psylocke.
Yeah.
Right? There was Storm versus Black Panther. Right after they had been married, like there were so many really cool. There was Captain America versus Gambit, right?
And Cable too.
And Gambit throwing the cards and then bouncing off, you know, Cap's shield, and then his shield becomes like completely encased in that energy. Like there were so many cool moments, and it also did a really good job with Nova to kind of kick things off with the younger version. There are just so many things in this that were done so incredibly well. And you got to see a ton of great art styles. You even got to kick it off at the beginning with MODOK and like that. Like, there's just so much to love about this that if anybody hasn't read this, you got to pick it up. And I highly recommend picking up the omnibus. It's about $100. 150, but it's like it's always on sale until it basically sells out. So like it's roughly like $100. But it's got, like I said, 1,680 pages. That's how much content there was in this event. This wasn't like a 6-part kind of like as good as Axe Judgment Day was. It was nowhere near 1,680 pages worth.
Nah, they shortened that story. It was, you can tell. Unless, and you know, the thing is, if you had like the only way to tell the story, to see the story, because there were 2 characters in Judgment Day that stood out a lot for me. One was, I loved the story that they told with Exodus. That was incredible. Like if you would have read that and to see how powerful Exodus is, you know, as a telepath, as a telekinesis, like literally This man can be in the heat of battle, but his mind is somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, how the fuck do you do that, bro? Like, literally, his mind is somewhere else, and he can actually separate, himself going back in history and just some of the stuff, even the speech that he gave, to Hope. You know what I mean? Realize it. Like, it was so dope. But the MVP, and I tell everybody, if you want to read the book, the MVP of that book to me was fucking Magneto, bro. Oh my God. Like,
he did some shit in that he had never done
before that you've never seen on that level. Like, I have never seen, like, we knew Magneto was powerful, but this dude is a fucking beast, bro. Like, literally in that book, he did some shit. Vinny, did you read it?
I'm behind. I only read the first two.
Bro, wait till you get going. Wait till you get going and get to.
You're going to know the exact issue that we're talking about. When you get to it, you're going to be like, oh, this is the thing.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It is
I got like
insane, bro.
The fourth issue.
Okay.
With
I'll try to catch up this week.
Yeah. So mine was where Wolverine and Cap were fighting Cable on that battleship.
On what?
They were fighting for Avengers versus X-Men.
Oh yeah,
Wolverine and Cap fighting Cable on a battleship.
Okay. No, we were talking about but the thing he's talking about with Magneto is from the current.
From the current, you haven't read. You got to read Judgment Day, bro. You had to read Judgment Day.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because the thing is, and what was important, what's so amazing about, and Vinny, once you get there, because you're in you read the first two, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'll tell you when I'm done. That way you don't got to
introduced. So you've been introduced to Uranus, right?
I believe so, yeah. Like it was a couple months ago when I read the first two, and I knew they were coming out, and I just wanted to wait till it was done and just read it all together.
So again, like there's so much into that book that's in completely, extremely, I loved it. I love the story. I love the dialogue, and once you just read through the dialogue, it's definitely incredible.
And they were, I think they were clearly going for something different too than AVX was. Like they were going for more cerebral psychological thriller, where AVX is trying to like please a lot of masters. Like it wanted to have a deep story, but it was also very action oriented. They wanted to have
every one of those.
At the Judgment Day, they want to set up the Eternals, right? Like when you finish this, you realize, oh shit, this is going to completely change the game for the Eternals moving forward.
They wanted it to have more of a cerebral element to it than AVX did. Not that AVX was just, like I said, oh boy, I wonder who would win between these two. Nah, there was
AVX was good, bro.
And, you know what I mean? Like there was that in it, but there was also like a heavy, deep story in it. It's just that they had the opportunity to have a lot of cool moments like that, and they let those moments breathe more in AVX.
Yeah. In the chat, Watch Your Six said, curious if Rendon liked AVX. In general, it's not well regarded in the comic community. I disagree with that. I know a lot of people that like that. That like AVX. I definitely more people that like looking back on it as a whole really, really dig it. So some people may not like it, but I know way more people that really enjoyed it than didn't. And
I loved it.
If you look at the sales numbers for the trade paperbacks for AVX, if you look at the sales that they were doing on the individual issues as it was running, and then if you look at it was one of, in the last like 5 years, it was one of the most demanded omnis for Marvel to print, and now that they have just a couple of months ago, it's close to selling out this print run. So it is a very, very popular overall.
Super popular, man. It is one of the best books,
and deservedly so. I think it like Vinny said, that they were going for more of a cerebral event with Axe Judgment Day, which I think they achieved. And I think that for, some people don't like Kieran Gillen, who like, was he and his creative team that were doing this most recent Eternals run. They were the creative team, the driving force behind the Axe Judgment Day event. But I'm telling you, they did a really good job with the Axe Judgment Day. And that Eternals run for the whole year leading up to Axe Judgment Day was great. Yeah. They did a really good job, and Kieran Gillen, he spearheaded that. So absolutely give those a chance. But they went with a much more cerebral, approach to this one versus AVX. But AVX still had a lot of heart, and it was just you had tons of great art throughout it, and it was something that it knew exactly what it was trying to be, and it did that successfully.
Just like Axe also had it. You got to see a lot of characters evolve. Like a lot of guys that we grew up classic wise. Like my favorite was seeing Cyclops go from, like you said, Boy Scout to General in like the first 3 or 4 books. Like it was just, I don't know, man. He's been one of my favorites. Him and Wolverine on the team. That's my 2 favorite boys, and it's like it's always been like they have like a Batman Superman relationship to me, Wolverine and Cyclops. So to see him,
they have like a love hate, and we know why.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
That's what was so great about it, because it wasn't just them fighting just to fight and then get together to fight someone else, and then nothing really happens. Storyline wise with the characters, like there was growth in these characters from
both of them.
Event. And there was residual, storylines that came from it. It wasn't like just kind of like how when Marvel and DC like have a thing, and it's just like they fight each other just so that way, people can be like, oh, cool, they fought, and then nothing comes of it. And it happens like that in Marvel comics sometimes too. Like two characters will cross each other's paths, and there'll be a misunderstanding like Three's Company. And, you know what I mean? And then they'll fight over something stupid, and then nothing really comes from it. But this was figuring out how to juggle dozens, if not hundreds of characters, and then have growth of quite a few of them, and then have growth in the universe as a result of it too. So it never felt like it was just a cash grab, and it never felt like it was just just something to do to just have a gimmick. It never felt gimmicky.
And they could have easily fallen into it too.
Right.
It seemed like it was going to be a gimmick. Like going into it, I was like, this is going to be just a gimmick fucking crossover thing.
Right.
But it was good.
And they could have easily, because Wolverine is like the most popular X-Man, right, in comics. And a lot of the covers, like even the cover of the Omni is Wolverine's claws go, so adamantium versus vibranium. And they could have made it, they could have made the whole thing about like focusing on the A plot is Wolverine being on both teams, and then and the struggle, and then him going up against Cap and stuff like that. And that was part of it. But it wasn't going to be that. It was really the hope. It was the whole Summers storyline. Yeah. But then it was Cyclops being the leader, and the leader being that kind of focal point. Where in the past it's like Cyclops is the leader, but like it's like Wolverine's kind of story or whoever. This was like, no, Cyclops is marshaling these forces. He's going to, and this is a journey that really it sets up everything that he was about to go through. And they stuck to that rather than just saying we're going to go with the one we think is going to sell the most, which is Wolverine. And as a result, you get something where Captain America looking at Cyclops is like, this guy's on my level. Like we're the leaders. This guy is on my level. And that made everybody else look at him and then look at the X-Men differently. And I think that was a big thing for them, because you got to remember, this is coming not too long after they just kind of stopped really doing a whole lot with the X-Men because Fox having the film rights. So this was a very important event for mutants in Marvel Comics, because they had really just kind of they had some great stories. You had House of M and all that, but they really just kind of like put them on the back burner in comparison to a lot of other characters. So AVX had to do what it eventually did and succeed in that, right, to have the X-Men, back in their full glory that they used to have. Now, I think a lot of that has been squandered in the kind of Hickman era. I don't really like what's been going on with the whole Krakoa storytelling of late. And I'm hoping that that's about to kind of flip back, starting with Sins of Sinister pretty soon. But I do think that the two, coming out of that, the two best X books, honestly, in my opinion, have been X-Men Red with Storm and Magneto and Mars. And then the Immortal X-Men. I think those have been my two favorites far more than the others.
And that's what he's talking about. Now, see, the thing is, I haven't gotten into X-Men Red yet. I haven't read it yet, so that's where I'm headed next. But I just want to.
But you read the parts of that.
I got X-Men Red myself.
To Axe, right?
Into Axe. What? No. So that's the thing. Like, I read the main because the thing is,
I'll go back. Read the tie-ins.
No. No. The only tie-in that I basically read was with Exodus, which was what I wanted to kind of read and kind of bring that aspect in. I read some of the other ones, but I got impatient, bro, because I just wanted to kind of read through the story.
I got you. The X-Men Red ones are really good.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, that's why I'm like, without giving too much away, I'm gonna ask you that question later on off camera, but.
Put it this way, though, you'll gain even more appreciation for Magneto and what he does in the main books.
Yes,
by reading and seeing what he does in the X-Men
from
Red
the side stories.
Yeah, okay. Because that's the tie-in that I've read. I started with that one, and Vinny, you'll get there once you actually see it.
Yep.
But that's where I was. But that's what I'm saying. Like, and the thing is, seeing Storm, her development, just. Just not just her power set, how strategic she also is as someone who does claim like sort of like a leadership role herself, but it's the thing is, bro, like reading
X-Men Gold.
Exactly, but reading these stories, bro, and I think that it actually set up because the thing is, all right, here's the thing that I respect Hickman's run, even though I think that there's those titles. We talked about this before, those titles and how he writes those titles. Sometimes the inserts, I think they're not needed. It's way too much. Like
and
those
they don't always really add anything to the experience of the
don't.
book.
Yeah.
Overall, I still think I agree with what people are saying. I did like House of X and Powers of X. I thought that there were good elements of those, but like the Ten of Swords and those Ten of Swords was such a massive disappointment for me. There were several other outside of House and Power that I was just like, man, this had so much potential, and then it didn't do it for me. I think he's better on other things like Avengers and stuff than he is with X-Men, and I do think I completely agree with you. And they've carried that over even with him not on the books anymore. It's still not as much, but they still will do that like full white page with like Sage's logbook and an X-Force or something. And it'll be like the whole page. And then after reading it, it's like I spent all that time reading it and I felt like it didn't add anything to the story. Stop putting those in. Just give us a comic book. Don't give us a white page that just has all text and it doesn't add anything.
Yeah, it doesn't. Like, it was just way too. I don't know. I mean, again, it has definitely some dope aspects of it, but I just felt as though, like, in some sense, it was just like, all right, you're doing way too much, and you're trying to basically like the fillers, like to make people understand, okay, why these characters are here, where the story is basically evolving. Without, and I get that, but sometimes
show don't tell.
Yeah, bro. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes, but in order to show, I think you got to basically condense even some of the dialogue because sometimes it became long-winded. You know what I mean? It was like, okay, you're going in a way where we get it, but just show it. Like, show what's actually happening before, But I mean, again,
But do you find it why that's the tie-ins are necessary? Like, I don't read all the tie-ins sometimes. Sometimes I may skip some in betweens.
It's hard because sometimes it
is necessary, but some
necessary,
it's not.
and then others it's like it's not at all.
Just like a filler. Some of them are like fillers or whatever, right?
But it depends. But then you have an event right now, like the Spider-Man X-Men event, Dark Web, where the tie-ins have been better than the main
line. Yeah.
So it's like, unless it's like a really crazy amount of them, I try and read the main book and the tie-ins because sometimes I would have stuff that I feel like, oh man, that would have hit really good. That really would have been way better for me if I had read the tie-in, and so I knew, this, so that made more sense. And like, but they're very inconsistent with the tie-ins being necessary, and then the tie-ins being, different in quality versus the main book. Sometimes worse, sometimes better. So
I have to pull myself back in and get in all of them then, because I mean, some of them, like I say, like I might say the first 2 tie-ins are pretty good, and then that third one might be like, oh, this is only a filler before the next main book comes out, so I might skip that one. So I gotta try that. I gotta get myself in the groove to buy in like all of them again. You know what I mean? Like I just, if it's a filler, I won't get it.
It's hard when you've got like an 8-issue event that's got 17 tie-ins.
Right.
That's money, for each issue. Down the road, you can get it as a collected edition, a trade paperback or an Omni or something like that. But in the meantime, it's like, if you want to keep up with it, you got to commit to all of those. And that's the thing. It's kind of like, it's almost like you either read all of the tie-ins or none of them. Because
that's how Death of Wolverine was. Like, bro, the main story for Death of Wolverine was what, 6 books? Then all the tie-ins in between, it was like 17 books.
There were like 5 or 6, like 4 to 5 part. There was like, Hunt for Weapon X kind of 1 through 3, and then so it can be hard to kind of keep up with all of them too. It's easier if it's like for example, if you're reading a lot of X-Men books and they're doing an event that crosses over in, like, let's say Marauders and the main X book and X-Force, and it's like, and, then you're like, okay, well, I'm already reading those issues week to week or month to month. So if they've got a main, story book, and then they've got tie-ins in each of those X books that you're already reading, then it's not a big deal to keep up with those, because you were going to be dropping the money to read those issues anyway.
Right.
But when it's like, different mini series, like it's like, okay, this is a mini tie-in that's like issues 1, 2, and 3, and then there are also tie-ins in this other title that you're not even reading currently. Then it's kind of a pain in the ass, because it's like, do I read just that issue? Or do I need to like read the couple issues before in that title, so I know what the hell is going on in this? So,
Right.
I think it also factors in on how much you're enjoying the story. Like if the story is kicking ass and you're loving it, sometimes it'll make me like, all right, I want to read these,
the tie-ins, just to kind of see where,
because my poor guy, like my comic book shop he'll recommend shit and just throw it down, and it's like, if I'm enjoying the series, it's like, all right, cool, give me whatever you recommend that ties in. But if it's a chore, if I'm not really just digging the mini series, then sometimes I'm just like, well, nah, I'm good. Especially if it's,
and see, that's
how greedy they are. If it's like 1 or 2 things that tie in, and it's like, okay, the art in this is cool, the writing is cool, but then sometimes it's like, here's a whole 12 issue thing that the art sucks and the writing sucks, and you'll feel like you're missing out something if you don't read this. And it's like, nah, you ain't getting me. No, I don't want.
And that's what I'm saying. Like when you do that, it's like it was always that way, even with House of X, Powers of X, because then you had to collect the Marauders.
Yeah,
they had so many. And I'm like, yo, I don't like. It was just so.
The Marauders was a good book for a while, but then now it's kind of stalling. But like, I love Cape Pride, so I'm still into it.
Yeah,
what drives me crazy though is when I'm really digging a book, and then they're like, okay, now this next tie-in, is important. You go to that next tie-in, and then it's like you want to keep up with the story, and so that something important is going to happen, but you fucking hate the art style in that book, and you got to kind of trudge through it, because that really pulls me out. It's like there are a lot of times
that's what makes me leave
the art style, if I just don't dig it, it's hard for me to then just stick with that and read it, case in point, and it pains me, but like, I'm the biggest Daredevil fan, but volumes 3 and 4 with Mark Waid, not only did I not really enjoy his writing, even though Mark Waid is a talented writer, but on Daredevil, I think he just screwed the pooch. I also couldn't stand the very cartoon style art that they had for that whole, volumes 3 and 4. I pushed through it because I'm a massive Daredevil fan, but like when you're talking about an isolated event, sometimes I'm like, that art style immediately turns me off, and I don't even want to pick that book up because I know it's gonna bother me. So when it's so divergent from the art style of the main book,
right?
Yeah,
it can be jarring.
True, definitely true. Anyway, like again, it was so much, talk on this because like I said, it was very important and I love the aspect of it. I mean, I love the simple fact that, both runs, reading, and I picked this because again, it's like for the foreseeable future where we can actually see them, the X-Men's entry, because again,
it's frustrating as hell, bro, because it's like, Disney has reservations of doing yet another Phoenix storyline, but yet at the same time, it's one of the most important storylines in comics. And it's kind of like, all right, well, do they skip over the Phoenix aspect of it and give them another reason to have a problem with the, Avengers, or another reason to have a problem with the X-Men and do AVX in 10 years after the X-Men have been around for 5, or do they just, bite the bullet and do Phoenix again? Don't have it just be, Jean Grey going through puberty, have it actually be the fucking Phoenix Force and do it right, and then set up all the different things that the Phoenix Force sets up over the course of the past 70 years, that 60 years or whatever that we had, to kind of have played around with over at Fox, and I'm off by like
honestly. I
years,
think they're gonna. I think they, and I think this is the right idea. It's just a matter of the execution and how they do it. But I think Disney Plus is going to be an invaluable tool for them to develop the X side of the MCU more.
They're
and
gonna one-shot the shit
they
out
gotta
of
do it right.
and push
they
us
do it
toward
right.
them being able to do something like the Phoenix Saga properly on the big screen. They're gonna lay the groundwork with things, I think, where they can do, and they're proving it, I think, with Daredevil too, where they're doing an 18 episode season. They can do a longer season, or they can do, like you said, specials like Werewolf by Night and stuff, where they're going to lay the groundwork because they're seeing the numbers and that people are watching these, right? They're seeing Ms. Marvel and stuff like that. And like, okay. And look at Loki bringing Kang in first and like how that's going to have an impact. So I think they know that they can do big things on Disney Plus now that it's succeeded. So I think Disney Plus is going to be used as a vehicle to kind of move us further along in this X side of the, because the thing is, if you're just going to put out an X-Men movie once every like 2.5-3 years, it's going to take forever, and you're going to leave all this great storytelling on the table. So also, I think they're going to do those, and then they're going to expand what films they're doing. There's going to be like an X-Force movie or a TV show. There's going to be an X Factor. There's going to be all of those things that they're going to do. But I think Disney Plus is going to be critical in them getting to the point where they can do the Phoenix Saga on the big screen the way they need to do it.
But we don't have to. I don't want them to do like the whole kid thing again either, man. Give us people that are like 25 to 30 that are like somewhat adults, like especially for like Magneto and Xavier. I hope so.
One of the only
I don't want kids
where it does make sense for them to be kids. I mean, if they start with First Class and have a college age or younger Cyclops and Jean,
we're not talking Harry Potter. We're not talking Harry Potter. We're talking about like if they're like 17. Something
it makes sense for them to still be in school.
18.
Here's
18,
what you
19.
But here's what you don't want to do too is like you don't want to like kind of waste all the depth and storytelling that you had just because you want to play catch up. That's kind of was DC's dilemma of, we want to like get all these stories out quick to catch up to what like they have the luxury of there's so much else going on. They shouldn't feel the pressure to feel like
that they have to basically rush.
They shouldn't feel the pressure to feel like, if they don't drop the first movie to, let's say, 25 or 26, they shouldn't feel like by 2030 that, we should be, as caught up in what's going on with the X-Men as we are with even the MCU Avengers, or like they should feel like if it takes till 2060 to catch us up to where we are now, that should be fine, because I don't need to have all those stories just like, because that's kind of what Fox did. Fox did, like, man, people want to see Bishop, people want to see Solid, people want to see, and they just fucking crammed them in those movies and made them basically into stuff. And I'd rather have not seen Bishop at all. I'd rather not see Bishop at all than see him doing the way they did him.
He served no purpose,
right?
Don't
do it.
10 seconds in the movie. But I just want to see
that the X-Men represent the single largest expansion opportunity for the MCU and storytelling, because it's not like, oh, we just got one character now, and so we'll make like 3 or 4 films with this character. It's like, no. You've got hundreds of mutants that just became available to you. You've got teams like X-Force, X-Factor. You can do the first class of X-Men. You've got all these different, you got the newer team from Giant Size and everything. You got X-Men Red, Black, Gold, Blue, all of these things that you've got. The villains that you now have, all right, from Mr. Sinister, Apocalypse. You've got fucking Magneto, depending on where they go with him. You've got all of these great characters that you can start bringing in the fucking Silver Samurai, right? Like you can bring in Lady Deathstrike, Omega Red, fucking Cyber from the 90s, right? Like, there's so much there.
There's so much.
They're not going to rush
themselves.
on that.
I don't. That's the thing.
I just want them to have at least an adult version of Xavier and Eric.
But see, here's the thing: is like you'll have an adult version of them because there's never going to mute that character. But the thing is, if they give us an adult version of the class, especially the first class, then you're going to miss the development of powers. It's like, what X-Men, the Fox's X-Men did is they gave us fan service without fan service. And what I mean by that is they started dumping all these characters in, but you weren't really true to the arc. You didn't actually give us what it meant to basically see those characters on screen. Like what they did to me, what they did to Juggernaut was a travesty. I didn't like that character. I didn't like the way they basically did that character and his relationship to, in which they should have developed. And it should
they didn't even have him and Charles be brothers. Like,
exactly. Or stepbrothers, that is. That's the thing is, it's like, take your time, develop the core characters. That's why I say it should start with the official first class. That's what I would love to see first. Start them at a young age and then bring them in later. If you want to bring Wolverine in, and that's why I am a fan, people don't understand it, but I would definitely be a fan if they actually brought in an Alpha Flight and have Wolverine's origin start there first. Have it start within those and then basically transfer it into the X-Men universe. It would make more sense to bring these characters in a certain way. But how? I mean, again, how do you
smart enough to do?
I'd rather have the Alpha Flight thing than how they did it with Fox, because they just had him on like this mercenary team with no name.
They've been smart enough to realize that this character needs growth. Like, they don't want to start Peter as a teacher in fucking high school and already like grown up and everything. They want to like show that progression, and that's with one character. So just because it's a team with hundreds of characters doesn't mean that is to be thrown out the window. There's dozens of primary characters, let alone the hundreds of characters that they could use, and those dozens or so of primary characters all deserve in context too, because they have with Disney Plus, like they have the outlet to do that, and they're not on the fucking clock. Like there's no
I just don't want to have them
need to look
like high school for
2023
like
X-Men right away.
They're not. Nobody said they're going to be in high school forever. We don't know what teams they are. We don't know if they're kids. We don't know if they're 30 or what. We have no idea. But the simple fact that when we're talking about like you can't rush these things like the Phoenix Saga, and that's exactly everything that Fox did is exactly what you don't want to do, and we can tell already that they're.
Froze up.
Yeah, he did.
Froze.
And we still haven't gotten any X-Men yet, right? That means they're not rushing into it. They're like, Kevin Feige is patient. He's built this entire MCU over the last, decade plus, and he recognizes, look, we're not going to do the X-Men fast. We're going to do the X-Men right. And so even though we don't know any details yet about what they're doing, the fact that we haven't gotten anything yet makes me confident that they're looking at doing this the right way. They're operating with like 10-year plans. Like they're not being like, all right, well, we want to do this movie and then we'll see how this does, and then maybe we'll do a sequel to it in 2 years. That's not how they're thinking. The simple fact that they're doing an Eternals 2 shows that, like, look, they come up with a plan, and then maybe they have some hits and maybe they have some misses, but they're sticking to their plan and they're going to go long term, and that's what they're going to do.
One flop doesn't, designate scrap the universe and
right. It means you make some adjustments, but you still keep moving forward with the larger story you're trying to tell.
They've had a couple flops, but you know what? They always adjust fire. They always adjust to.
I think the rebound. Testament to that is that's what happens when you have a team that is dedicated to telling the overall story. So like they don't let a hiccup like throw them off, because they weren't counting on that to like justify the next film. Like they were going to do these other movies that came after, regardless if that was a hit or not. So they can trip without it being the end of the world. So I'm confident. I'm nervous, but I'm confident because I'm sure Feige has had every writer for the past 15 years, 10, 12 years since Marvel's been going, like pitch their way of how he would do X-Men if they, got the rights back from Fox. So I doubt he waited till I guarantee you he didn't wait till the Fox deal.
They got the rights back.
I guarantee you they didn't wait till that ink was dry to think about how they would do it.
Where they want to go. They already basically had an idea, because the thing is, it starts with the idea first before the acquisition. So they already knew what direction that they wanted to go with these particular characters and how they would be implemented. It's just that, okay, now we have to get the IP. We know how we want to do certain things. We may not have like an end game, but we know how we want to start this. And that's why he was even smart to say it was a 5-year plan. You know what I mean? So I think that we're going to actually see inklings of that, coming forward and pretty soon. Even to be quite honest, here's the thing. We already know that we have, again, such movies as Quantumania. We know we have the Fantastic Four coming. We know we have the Marvels coming. We know we have all these different films that are being filtered down. They're going to start, peppering things in so we can actually just set it up. And I think that's the right way to do it, instead of just saying, you know what, boom, here it is. You know what I mean?
And
warm it up.
With Feige, though, he should be the blueprint for anybody trying to make comic book movies or films, man. For the fact that he's a comic book head that is patient enough to write out a plan and try to follow through with it. If other leaders that are in like WB or whatever, you know what I'm saying, we would have a lot more movies with substance that were better in the comic book world. Because he's a comic book head that has made a blueprint for himself and for his company. And they've been doing, even with the misses, bro, they always adjust fire to the next movie.
Well, that could very well might suck. That could very well be what we get moving forward with DC and Warner Brothers, though, because we haven't seen the slate yet. We have to see what they announce. They're going to announce some of it this month. So we'll see, we very well could be on the cusp of getting that exact same thing on the other side. So like that's a good thing. We just have to wait and see what they
just kind of see how the payoff is going to be. And the thing is, it's like I said, that right there is a long-term tough a conversation.
Everything is a long game.
It's to have. We just have to kind of wait to see. We're already an hour and 38 minutes in. I want to kind of end it here. But again, thanks everybody for basically coming. It's been a great discussion. I know everybody is, thanks you for hanging in with us. The link to everybody's page and everything is here, in the comments or actually in the description. So definitely make sure that you do that. A lot of stuff I know that these people actually have coming up. But yeah, stay tuned for that. Next week, I don't know who the featured artist is going to be, but we're going to talk about that. We'll surprise you. We'll actually find out. One of these guys will pull a rabbit out the hat. Jason, you got to find somebody else. Definitely. I know you got somebody in the tuck.
Yeah, y'all kill me with
you
Jim
basically
Lee.
do. Yeah, but make sure that you actually find
your
one.
memory killed you with Jim Lee.
Yeah.
I'm about to be 47 next week. So
he's like, have you guys heard about this great artist Lim G? Yeah,
definitely. So thank you guys out there. Real quick, let's real quick round table of everybody what they got going on, and then we're going to sign out. Vinny, what you got coming up next, bro?
Just a lot of commission work and just working on a bunch of projects that I have. Like there's a series that I want to do, so it's gonna be a minute before I can unveil that because I want to try to get the run done and then trickle them out and just catching up on. Got a lot of reading to catch up on, shows. I just started Kaleidoscope, and it's a really interesting format, so that's pretty cool.
That is a good show, bro.
I like the the gimmick because it's gimmicky, but it's cool at the same time.
Yeah,
and,
it's good.
Giancarlo, that's he's the man. So anything with him,
awesome,
always fire. Yeah. And other than that, just some R&R and just same old.
Definitely, man. Thank you for always being here. If you haven't already, Vincent Dunn Art on Instagram. Great work. And also the link to his store is there as well. So make sure you chime in. Jedi Kid, what you got coming up, bro?
I got some figs coming in any day. I got the what is it? Stomper? No, not tonight. She's asleep. I got what is it? The Hydra Stomper coming.
Hydra Stomper, yeah.
Nice.
I have War Machine. I got that already. I have with a Hydra Stomper War Machine. What's the other one? I got 4 coming. Damn. See, I'm getting old. I told you. Oh my god, I can't remember. Oh, I got the corny Batman. I call him the corny Batman.
Yeah.
The one from Batman Forever. I ordered. I couldn't help it.
Oh, you ordered?
I didn't get the Robin. They're Robin.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do
it. If you get one, you have to get the other.
Brendan, that Robin dog. The Robin.
It's a good.
You gotta have, bruh. Listen
you mean
to
this
me.
one?
You put him on it. I think poking me in the eye, dog. It's poking me in the eye. You put me in the eye with that thing, dog. Come on, man. Jesus Christ. I would have to shave that. I would have to shave it, bro. Or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you ever basically see? Did you ever see like this parody of a superhero movie called Orgasmo? You ever see that, bro? That's what this looks like.
Nah, dog. That is hilarious, yo.
That's what it
does. I got that
6-scale figure with a quarter-scale bulge.
Yeah,
that's what I see.
So
that's what I see, bro.
Listen,
I would change them out,
already. Jedi
Kid, his religion.
Master Sergeant on Instagram. Definitely make sure that you actually follow him as well. Real
quick,
show. Exactly. Real quick, Brendan, what you got going on, man?
Comics this week, Wednesday. I'm looking forward to it. Got a bunch coming out. Got obviously new Daredevil. Got Ghost Rider. Got Moon Knight. Carnage. Savage Avengers all coming out. And Brian Michael Bendis's creator-owned book, The Ones, for Dark Horse, issue number 3 coming out of that. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to a bunch of comics on Wednesday. And then just kind of, I got some client work and stuff, and other than that, just kind of relaxing. And after this, I'm gonna go watch that Quantumania trailer.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to do the same thing.
Do that, then we can just tell Vinny what we saw. But yeah, man, thanks.
No doubt.
No, just fuck around. Thanks everybody for basically being here. What's going on next? Say What Wednesday, Uncivilized Scoundrels on Thursday. We got Figure Flex Friday, of course.
That show Sunday, on Friday.
Collectors Lounge International on Sunday. So definitely stay tuned. A couple videos that's gonna be popping off here in a few days. So thank you for actually being here. Everybody out there, have a safe evening. Go ahead. I know you've been holding on with us for a while, but you can now go ahead and watch that trailer. Do what you got to do. We will talk to y'all later. Next week, same time, we'll be back here. Peace and love. Talk to y'all later. Remember, collect them comics. It is, New Comic Wednesday coming up soon. Make sure you get that in your bag. Let's go.